Hey y'all, it's Roger with Kinsta. I've got an exciting episode for you today if you're into WooCommerce, which a lot of you are. I'm joined by Cody Landefeld of ModEffect in Arizona. Hey Cody.
Hey, Roger. Good to see you again, buddy.
Yeah, man, always great to see you. So I'm excited to have you on today because ModEffect is known for WooCommerce and just making awesome WooCommerce sites that make their clients lots of money and just work really well. And so I wanted to talk with you about WooCommerce optimization and get some insights from you over your years of working with WooCommerce sites. So before we jump too far into the nitty gritty, tell us a little bit about ModEffect and your journey of getting to where you are today.
Sure. Yes. Started ModEffect in 2010, and it was a generalist website agency. We primarily used WordPress, so that was always the CMS of choice. A couple of years into starting the business, I pivoted towards e-commerce because it just seemed a little bit more quantifiable. So we pretty much forged ahead on that and started to build up a good content base of WooCommerce tips and tricks and things that store owners need to be aware of. And it sort of put us on the map, and we started, getting more stores looking to us for help. In 2017, I met my business partner who had also been in the e-commerce industry, and we merged our companies in 2017, 2018, somewhere in there, and we sort of formed this larger Voltron agency of sorts to help e-commerce clients and stores sort their technical issues and marketing stuff.
Awesome. From a strategy perspective, when ModEffect comes into a new site situation, how do you start that discussion? How do you get the business owner who maybe they've got a successful bricks and mortar company? How do they make this transition to e-commerce, and how do you help them think about strategy?
Well, the first piece of advice is typically it's a good thing to be DIY. I mean, that's why WordPress and WooCommerce are such valuable tools because there's such a pretty easy step by step process that you could set up your website and take it pretty far to get online and start getting your first sales. And those are typically the recommendations I want to make to any business owner that's starting to go online, if they've had a brick and mortar or if they're just had some type of footprint and now they're trying to sell online. Secondarily, you just want to familiarize yourself with just general things to make sure that you're measuring your success, like making sure you have the latest Google Analytics setup, which is now Google Analytics 4 set up and it's annotated. You want to make sure that you're set up for any type of SEO so people can find you, making sure you're registering yourself on all the websites that are pertinent to helping your customers find you easily. And then really just taking that as far as you possibly can within your own energy or your own team's energy. And then next steps when you've sort of, hit that next rung on the ladder, so to say, and you want to go higher or further, you would reach out to a company like ours. And that's typically where we meet a lot of our clients.
Oh, okay. So I guess kind of walk me through when somebody's coming to ModEffect, they've already got a site, maybe they've put some products up there, they're seeing some action. What is prompting them to come and reach out to ModEffect?
Typically, it's pretty much exactly like I've explained. You have somebody who's built their website, either hired a freelancer or they built it themselves, and they've gotten their business up off the ground and they're selling some products and they're doing pretty well. A lot of times they've even crested that seven-figure mark on sales. And what tends to happen is the website will slow down. There's admin slowness. There are problems getting through checkout. And it sort of is created by this tangled web of plugins or things they've done to their website, or their images are not minified. And there's all of these things, to use a word I used earlier, smorgasbord of like things that just sort of go together to create like just a tangled web of just spaghetti mess of code on the website. And so that's typically when they go look for an agency like us, and they're just kind of throwing up the flag saying, "Hey, we're already a business, we're already running, but we have some technical issues, and we have some issues just we know if we got sorted, we can sort of hit that next level, or rather that next rung on the ladder of success, so to say."
Gotcha. So I guess dialing back for a second for people that are, in the DIY mode, or, maybe they've got somebody in-house that knows some WordPress and jumped into the WooCommerce stuff. It sounds, like a common WordPress issue is the plugins, right? We've got this amazing assortment of plugins that we can easily plug into our site. When people are evaluating plugins, right, before they've reached out to ModEffect for the ultimate help, what's some advice you have for when people are choosing, like, how do they choose, like, what plugins should they use?
I would always recommend people to run as lean as possible, rather businesses to run as lean as possible. I can never really influence somebody on simplifying their business idea. But if you do have a simplified selling strategy, just keep it simple. Keep things as streamlined, as lightweight as possible. So WooCommerce, their typical recommended plugins for shipping, payment gateway, and maybe a couple of marketing plugins just to start you out. I think that's really all you need. Of course, there will be a few more things that you need for the marketing aspect of your website, but really that's it. And typically plugin authors will spell out if it doesn't work with a certain version, or perhaps if it doesn't work with a certain plugin, or if it's dependent on a certain plugin or extension as well.
One of the things that people talk about when they're optimizing a site, right? So there's a couple of different ways to think about optimization. There's the technical database backend code, but then there's the other side of optimization, and it's the user experience, right? As the customer is going through the store, that experience can be good or bad, right? Is there any kind of tips you can give for when they're approaching laying out their store and really kind of trying to think through the products and make that process for the customer as easy as possible?
Well, I would say it's like with figuring out what plugins or extensions to run on your site, just same approach is applies here. What most of your customers are likely used to, like you mentioned, Amazon, but in the case of small business, it's Shopify. A lot of Shopify stores are going to have a very familiar grid for your products. It doesn't require your website to have a new invention of design. I'll let you in on a little secret. Most of the successful e-commerce websites out there are not sexy. They're not groundbreaking visually. They just work well and they're boring. But hey, listen, they're fast and they work well. So for you as a business owner, the key is to get your customers from on the site all the way through checkout as fast as possible. So bearing that in mind, you really want to steer clear of trying to reinvent the wheel when it comes to design or putting things together in a clever way. Creativity is welcome. Absolutely try and do that. But at the end of the day, you want that to be super simple, getting people onto your website all the way through checkout. Hopefully they can make a sale with as little friction as possible. So typically, what you're going to find when it comes to a creative approach, a lot of plugins, or rather a lot of themes that are available that are probably the most popular WooCommerce themes. They're popular for a reason, and they're probably popular because of the fact that they have that very low friction when you get on there. So I would recommend going that route. Or if you're on an older theme, or if you're on a website that is getting updated or adding a store, just really keep that grid and really keep that product approach super simple and making sure people can get onto your site all the way through checkout with as little friction as possible.
Why shouldn't people just be using Shopify? If it's there and it's so easy, why bother with all the complication of doing a WordPress site?
What I've learned in all my years of web development, there's no perfect tool. There's only trade-offs. It's like the Thomas Sowell quote, no solutions, only trade-offs. So Same applies with technology platforms. You're not going to be able to convince somebody, oh, it's the perfect platform. It might be the best or a great platform for fill in the blank, but specifically as it relates to using Shopify or WordPress, it just depends. WordPress and WooCommerce are so great to be able to go into your website, add in content, have the ease of use to be able to update all SEO stuff. That is a fantastic platform for that. And, when it comes to a website or a store that is really trying to do a bunch of different things, maybe it's digital products, maybe it's subscriptions, maybe it's complex product types, you have so much more control and flexibility to be able to make the store your own when it comes to WordPress and WooCommerce. I work, honestly, our company is pretty e-commerce agnostic. We work with different platforms. We love WordPress and WooCommerce, but we see the best and brightest of all the platforms. We see the challenges and the pitfalls, and what the customers tell us, our clients tell us when they use WordPress and WooCommerce is they absolutely love the customization ability and the platform and being able to take their website where they need to go. And then there's trade-offs of cost too, like getting onto Shopify. It's when you're on a certain size of a store, sometimes that's a $2,500 fee just to get your store hosted. And then that's a starting point. So a lot of times you can really stretch the dollar a lot better. And for a lot of small businesses, that's a great thing. So I could get on a whole tangent of how to stretch your dollar and if that would work for your store and what you need to do.
You could go set up a simple marketing website with Wix or Squarespace, and within a year or 2 years, you're going to outgrow it because you're going to want to customize in a certain way that platform just doesn't allow you to do. And so that's where, WordPress is just great. It's also, like you said, the tool fits the place. Whereas because WooCommerce and WordPress allow you to self-host, you can make different options as you go. You might start on some cheap host and then realize that a Kinsta is going to give you what you need with more caching, Cloudflare, daily backups, and just these things that help you as a business owner maintain your site just that much more easily.
That's a good point as well. The thing with being able to have a WooCommerce website that works well, it does take a great host like Kinsta, and it also really takes having a good know-how yourself or having your developer really understand the ins and outs and the pitfalls of where you could have speed challenges, or having a good team you can rely on to be able to foresee all those things and keep those things clear, because it's really one and two type of steps. So there is no shortcut. It's all going to take work. It's all going to take tactical things in order to make sure your website runs extremely efficient. But it is possible, and it is very much achievable to be able to run your website most efficiently and affordably on WooCommerce.
As we're kind of winding down here a little bit, how can people engage ModEffect?
If you just go to our website, modeffect.com, there's a contact form on there. We put out a lot of content as well on our site. There's a lot of tips and tricks we can give because, quite frankly, we're a small e-commerce company, and we have a primary target of customers that are typically a little further down the road, and they're kind of in that thick of it when it comes to technical challenges and growth for their business and marketing and whatnot. But for the stores that are sort of starting out and looking to figure out how to put it together, we'll put out a lot of good content to just help you kind of get an understanding of what are the things you really need to implement on your store to kind of get moving in the right direction, that is. So modeffect.com, LinkedIn is also a great place to find us.
Cody, I really appreciate the time. I feel like there's been a lot of great information given for people who are considering or are even running their e-commerce stores. Modeffect.com is the site. I definitely recommend people reach out if they have questions or if they're just looking for some great content on running a WooCommerce store. Cody, I appreciate the time, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Roger.